The flight had been ordinary until the moment the shouting erupted in row 14, cutting through the cabin like a blade. Passengers jolted upright as a furious man in his late 50s, broad-shouldered, red-faced, radiating entitlement, lunged across the aisle toward a 17-year-old boy quietly scrolling through his tablet, and though no one knew his name yet, everyone could see the fear tightening his shoulders as he shrank back against the window, too stunned to speak. The man, a frequent flyer who'd been complaining since boarding, had decided the teen didn't belong in Economy Plus, muttering under his breath about kids taking seats from paying adults, growing louder each time the boy ignored him. The tension thickened as people exchanged nervous glances, whispering, "Why is he yelling at him?" But before anyone could intervene, the man grabbed the teen's shirt and yanked him forward, snarling, "Look at me when I'm talking to you!" Gasps shot through the cabin. A baby cried. A flight attendant dropped her tray in shock, metal clattering against the aisle floor. The teen's tablet hit the seat arm and cracked. "Stop!" the boy finally cried, voice breaking, not from weakness, but from the humiliation of being assaulted in front of 100 strangers. The man raised his hand as if to strike him again when everything froze. A voice from row 15, calm but thunderous, spoke with the kind of authority that silenced even the engines for a heartbeat. "Take your hands off my son." Every head jerked around to see who had spoken, and from the seat behind them, a tall, composed figure stood, his presence enough to draw instant quiet. The father, who until now had been unnoticed beneath a baseball cap and reading glasses, stepped into the aisle with slow, deliberate control, the kind that made the aggressor's bravado evaporate. Before the man could bluster excuses, the father reached into his jacket and held up an ID card that made the nearest flight attendant gasp. A gold badge marked Federal Air Marshal Command Unit. "You assaulted a minor," he said coolly. "You just committed a federal offense on an aircraft." And in that instant, before cuffs, before consequences, the entire plane realized they were witnessing a moment no one would ever forget. Chaos shifted into eerie stillness as two flight attendants rushed toward the aisle, trembling but grateful someone had finally taken control. The Air Marshal father's presence transformed the atmosphere from panic to precision as he positioned himself between the aggressor and his son, shielding the boy with one arm while signaling the crew with the other, his voice low but commanding, "Secure the cabin, no one moves." The man who attacked the teen stuttered, "I didn't know, I didn't mean, he was disrespectful." But every excuse fell apart under the weight of the boy's ripped shirt and the trembling hands he tried desperately to hide. Passengers who had remained frozen minutes earlier now erupted with anger, some shouting, "We saw everything! He grabbed him! Arrest him!" A mother in row 12 stood with tears in her eyes. An elderly man whispered, "That poor kid." The air marshal leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Sir, sit down and place your hands where I can see them." The man hesitated, trembling, then obeyed as the cabin crew notified the captain, who instantly declared a level 2 security incident. The plane diverted. The man's panic turned frantic as he sputtered pleas, but no one was moved, not by a man who used his size to intimidate a child. The teen, still shaking, tried to apologize for causing trouble, but his father placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "You did nothing wrong," he said softly, the gentleness of a parent cutting through the wreckage of the moment. The crew offered blankets, water, anything to comfort him, while the aggressor sat alone under the burning judgment of 100 eyes, each minute of silence heavier than the last. The cabin that minutes before hummed with conversation now felt like a courtroom awaiting its verdict, and it was coming fast. When the wheels touched the tarmac of the emergency diversion airport, the cabin filled with a tension so sharp it almost hummed. Police vehicles swarmed the aircraft, blue lights flashing against the windows, as officers boarded the plane in formation, heading straight for row 14, where the aggressor sat, pale and sweating. The air marshal stepped aside, giving a concise report to the officers, while the man's face crumpled into disbelief as handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Passengers applauded, some out of relief, others in defense of the teen who finally exhaled for the first time since the attack. The father held his son close as they disembarked, crew members stopping them one by one to apologize, to offer support, or simply to assure the boy that none of what happened was his fault. Outside, the airline's regional director waited with urgency, shaken by the severity of the incident. He confirmed the attacker would face federal charges, assault of a minor, interference with flight operations, endangerment, and be permanently banned from commercial air travel. The teen looked exhausted, haunted by the sudden violence of a stranger, but his father looked at him with quiet pride. "You handled yourself better than most adults would," he said. And when the director offered them anything they needed, therapy support, transportation, legal counsel, the father simply replied, "Make sure your passengers feel safe. That's all we ask." The moment became a turning point for the airline, triggering policy changes, new crew safety training, and a public statement condemning harassment of minors. But for the passengers who lived it, and for the thousands who later watched the viral videos, the most unforgettable moment wasn't the arrest. It was the split second when a father stood up, revealed who he truly was, and the entire plane fell silent. If this story shook you, made you angry, made you think, or made you wish every vulnerable passenger had someone to stand up for them, don't let this moment fade. Conversations like this matter because situations like this happen every day, and too many are ignored, dismissed, or buried under excuses. Tell us in the comments, what part hit you hardest? Was it the moment the teen cried out, the father stepping forward, or the silence that fell when the truth shattered the aggressor's arrogance? Your voice matters here. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your outrage, or your hope, because every comment adds to a community that refuses to stay silent. If you believe no child should ever fear traveling, hit that like button. If you want more stories that expose injustice, elevate courage, and reveal the real strength behind ordinary people, subscribe now. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, a parent, a traveler, someone who's been mistreated, share this video with them. Together we can raise awareness, push for accountability, and create a world where no one gets away with violence disguised as frustration or entitlement. Don't just watch, be part of the message. Your engagement keeps these stories alive. Your voice keeps them powerful.